All right, so I'm not gonna win any glamour contest today because I literally just walked in from the food forest, sweaty, and came into the kitchen, took off my hat and my gloves, and I'm gonna show you how I'm going to prepare the yuca. So my understanding is that when we grow this in the ground, it's called cassava, or sometimes they do call it cassava flour, but then it's also called yuca. So I tend to call it yuca when I'm talking about the food, and I tend to call it cassava when I'm talking about the plant. I don't know if that's correct, but that's how I do it. So anyway, this is the whole plant. I hope now you have a little bit better scale. You can see how big it is. It's quite large. This is one root, and there were others there. So what you need to do is, cassava does not, it does not stay fresh for very long. So you do need to cook it up, harvest it pretty quickly. And that's super tough. Interesting. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove the outside, interesting, already challenges. I'm gonna remove the outside bark, and you know, this is the piece that came connected to the stem. So I'm wondering if just this is particularly like woody or something. Where I had first cut, it wasn't. So that's kind of interesting. Anyway, much easier to cut now. That was intense. So yeah, maybe perhaps it's a bit tougher where it's connected directly to the stem. So I'm going to just cut it into pieces and chunks, and then I'm gonna put it in a bowl, and then we'll be soaking it for quite a while. The cassava plant has cyanide in it, and my understanding is that when it is cooked, I don't remember the technical name of the cyanide component, but when it's cooked, it gets released into the air, and so it boils off and then it's gone. There are other ways to preserve cassava, and I think there's like a whole fermentation process where you like grind it. And I think this is done typically more with the bitter varieties. This is a sweet variety of cassava. This one again is called Shan's Yellow is the variety, and so anyway, the sweet varieties, I think, would be best to just boil up and eat, because it's kind of got the texture of like a potato. And this variety, Shan's Yellow, is supposed to look more yellow when it is cooked. I can tell right now, I don't know if you can, but I can tell right now that it has like a pale, here's a white piece of paper, and it has like a pale yellow color to it. It's very pretty. Again, you don't eat this raw because of the cyanide compounds present in it, but this plant is eaten all throughout the world. Yuca cassava is grown Central America, South America, Africa, and this is only the second time we've harvested it. We had a plant that we harvested, I think it was in May, and it was like very small, but it blew over, and so it was just tiny. We had like the tiniest little amount. This is the biggest harvest we've ever had. And so as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm kind of cutting it into chunks, and then these will be, like I said, in a bowl and then soaking in water. I'll have to double check my notes. I feel like the soak time was a day or two, and I don't think everybody does that, but I do think it helps remove some more of the cyanide, which, now that I'm thinking about it, how does that help if they're more often released as a vapor? But I don't really know. Don't quote me. I'm just excited to have Yuca and yeah, like our first real harvest. It's very exciting. I cut it with a saw from the main plant. We left the other roots in place and we left the greenery in place. We thought we were gonna cut off the all the greenery and save the sticks and the stems for future plantings, but because some of the roots that we saw down below weren't full sized yet, we thought let's just leave them in the ground and see if they'll grow some more. Plus, we don't want to harvest the entire cassava plant at once because it goes bad so quickly. It will turn black. I don't know if it's actually mold, but it does turn black, and so yeah, we don't want it to spoil. I've also heard that you can do what I'm doing, peel it, cut it, and then freeze it. And then from frozen, you could take it out of the freezer and then boil it. So again, like I said, I'm going to be covering this bowl of cassava with water. I have a second bowl here. I'll probably split it between the two bowls. I'll check my notes. I'll use them. I think Amanda Pike in her book is called, spacing out on what her book is called, but it's all about food forests, and I think she has a recommendation in there of how long to soak the cassava, and I did that the last time I prepared it, and I thought it came out really nice. So I'll do the soaking, and then the next step is the boiling in water until it's soft, tender, and then you pitch the water. You don't use the water like for cooking. Even though I do think it's released in the air, they say not to use the water. Not sure what else to say about the cassava, except that I wished I knew when I planted this. What I'm learning from listening to Josh Jameson from Cody Cove, we belong to their Patreon group, and I've listened to several of his Q&As, and he's talked about cassava. People have written in and asked questions about cassava, which I'm so grateful they have asked those questions because I have the same questions. When do you harvest it? How do you know when it's ready? So when do you know? So yeah, this is the piece that's like super hard. Yeah, we're just not gonna do anything with that. No need to. So anyway, I appreciate all of his help and learning about it. But ideally what I'm understanding is that ideally you plant the sticks in about March 1st, and then it should be ready like around December. And this one we put in before March 1st. Like I have a feeling it was going through the winter. I'm not sure exactly how long. So there you go. So not too difficult in terms of just removing the skin and then cutting it into chunks. I'm gonna fill these with water, leave them for the amount of time that I think is a day or two, and pour the water off, and then they'll get boiled and cooked until soft tender. And then there is a stem that goes through the center. So once it boils, it kind of opens up and gets soft and kind of pulls away from that stem, and then you can pull the stem away. It's just like a tough fibrous stem. So first time with Shan's Yellow, I'll let you know what happens. And thanks for watching Saritas Garden. See you next time.